Hi guys and welcome to Crazy Pepper Revenge. This channel is all about crazy true stories, stuff that happens in real life when things get a little bit messy, people dealing with drama, cheating, lies, breakups, and even revenge. Some stories are wild, some are emotional, but all of them will keep you watching. If you like real talk and real situations, you're in the right place. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and stick around. This is Crazy Pepper Revenge, where the stories get spicy.
My father-in-law was celebrating his 65th birthday at the steakhouse everyone liked. One of those places with dark wood paneling and pictures of cattle hanging on the walls. 20 relatives packed around a long table, passing bread baskets around and talking loudly over each other. I was sitting there trying to enjoy my meal when my brother-in-law brought up his new promotion. Everyone congratulated him enthusiastically, asked about the salary bump, the usual questions about his new responsibilities. Then someone turned directly to me and asked, "What about me? Was I still at the same place?" Before I could get a single word out, my wife jumped in with this sharp, cutting tone that made my stomach drop instantly. She said, "Oh, he's perfectly content where he is, aren't you?" There was something distinctly pointed in her tone, sharp, like she wanted to make a very specific point to everyone listening. I kept my voice carefully neutral and said the job was fine, it paid the bills. Her sister Claudia wouldn't let it drop, pressing further. She said, "Didn't I have some opportunity a while back?" She remembered me mentioning something. My wife actually laughed out loud, this harsh sound that cut through the restaurant noise. She told everyone I'd turned it down, said it wasn't the right time. I felt my jaw tighten because that wasn't the full story and she knew it perfectly well. I said quietly that it would have required relocating, and we discussed it together. She set down her fork with deliberate force, and I knew exactly where this was going. She said disgust, then paused dramatically. She claimed that what I really meant was she told me she wasn't moving, and I agreed because I knew this relationship wouldn't survive long distance. The entire table got completely quiet. People were looking at their plates, suddenly very interested in their steaks. I said, "That's not fair. I chose us. I chose this marriage." Her voice was getting louder now. She said I chose the easy option, that I was scared. Scared of change, scared of the challenge, scared of proving myself. My father-in-law tried to intervene, saying maybe we should talk about something else. She ignored him completely. She announced that my problem was I was comfortable being mediocre. She said I had a chance to actually do something with my career, and I chickened out. I could feel everyone staring directly at me. My face was hot. I said I made that decision for her, for us. She pointed directly at me and said, "No, I made it because I was terrified of being alone." She said I knew if I left she wouldn't wait around, and I couldn't handle that reality. The whole table was silent now, and even the waiter had backed away. I opened my mouth, then closed it. What was there to say? She'd just told everyone at this table that I was weak, that I was afraid, that I couldn't survive without her. She leaned back in her chair, arms crossed, and said, "If I wanted to leave, go ahead, walk out that door." She predicted I'd come crawling back within weeks, maybe days. My mother-in-law gasped audibly. She said, "That's enough." My wife's eyes were cold as ice when she insisted she was serious. She said I needed her more than she needed me, and we all knew it. I knew it. I stood up abruptly. My chair scraped against the floor, loud in the silence. She asked where I was going, her tone almost bored. I pulled out my wallet, threw down enough cash to cover my meal, and looked at my father-in-law. I said, "Happy birthday." Then I walked out. I heard her voice behind me saying, "See?" running away like always. I didn't turn around, didn't respond at all. Just kept walking through the restaurant, past the other diners who definitely heard everything, out into the parking lot. My hands were shaking when I got to my truck, not from anger, but from clarity. She thought I needed her, thought I was too weak, too scared, too comfortable to survive on my own. I started the engine and drove home, our home, for now. My phone started buzzing before I even got there, text after text flooding in. I didn't look when I walked through the door. I went straight to the bedroom and pulled out my old duffel bag from the closet, started packing methodically. Clothes, toiletries, important documents. I wasn't grabbing everything, just enough. The phone kept buzzing constantly. Calls now, not just texts. I let it ring. 40 minutes later, I was checking into a motel off the highway. Nothing special, but it was clean and cheap, $70 a night. I could manage that while I figured things out. I sat on the edge of the bed and finally looked at my phone. 17 missed calls, dozens of messages. The first ones were angry. She said I was being childish. Come back here right now. I was embarrassing myself. Then confused. Where was I? Answer my phone. People were worried, then almost concerned. This isn't funny anymore. We need to talk. I didn't respond to any of them. Instead, I scrolled through my emails until I found the one I was looking for from 8 months ago. The subject line read, "Exciting opportunity. Still interested." I'd saved it, didn't know why exactly. Maybe part of me knew this day would come eventually. I read it again carefully. Senior position, different state, 40% salary increase. Better benefits, room for advancement. I turned it down because she didn't want to move. Because she had her job, her friends, her family here. Because I thought marriage meant compromise, meant sacrifice. She'd just told a room full of people I was too scared to make it on my own. Time to prove her wrong. I opened the email and hit reply. I typed the email at 11 at night, sitting on that motel bed with my laptop balanced on my knees. I wrote that I hoped this message found him well. I knew it had been several months since we last spoke about the position at his company. If the opportunity was still available, I'd like to express my serious interest in moving forward. My circumstances had changed, and I was now in a position to relocate. Please let me know if we could discuss this further. I hit send before I could second-guess myself. My phone buzzed again, another call from her. I declined it. Then came a text saying I was acting insane. Come home so we could talk like adults. I turned off the phone completely and tried to sleep. Didn't work. I spent most of the night staring at the ceiling, listening to trucks rumble past on the highway. Morning came too early. I turned my phone back on and found 23 new messages. Her family had joined in now. Her sister asking what's going on. She's really upset. Her mother saying we needed to work this out. Even her brother saying, "Man, just come back. I was making this worse." Nobody asked if I was okay. Nobody questioned what she'd said to me. I deleted all of them without responding. What I didn't delete was the email notification that had come in at 6 in the morning. Mr. Garrison had replied, "Great to hear from me. The position was filled, but they had an even better opportunity that just opened up. Was I available for a call this morning?" I called him at 8 sharp. "I'll be honest," Garrison said after we'd talked for 20 minutes. They were disappointed when I turned them down. I was their top choice. But this new role was actually a step up from what they originally offered. Team lead position, more responsibility, but also more money. 52% increase from my current salary. I did the math in my head. That was significant. Genuinely life-changing money. When would I need to start, I asked. 2 weeks, 3 if I needed it. They understood I'd need time to relocate. 2 weeks works, I said. Excellent, he replied. HR would send over the paperwork today. Welcome aboard. After I hung up, I sat there for a minute, letting it sink in. I'd just accepted a job in another state just like that. My phone rang, her again. This time I answered. She asked where I was, sounding annoyed, not worried. I said it doesn't matter. She insisted I needed to come home. We needed to talk about last night. I said nothing to talk about, she made herself clear. She claimed she was upset, and I embarrassed her by walking out like that. I almost laughed. She reminded me her whole family was there. I made a scene. I said she told everyone I'm weak and pathetic, that I'd come crawling back to her. Silence. Then she said she didn't say pathetic. I replied close enough. I kept my voice steady and told her I'm not coming back. She said stop being dramatic. I was staying in a motel, what, to teach her a lesson? I said I accepted a job. I'm moving in 2 weeks. Another silence. Longer this time. She asked what I was talking about. I explained the job I turned down. They had another opening. Better position, better pay. I started in 14 days. She accused me of lying. I said, believe what you want. She argued I can't just leave. We have a lease. Bills, commitments. I told her I'd pay my half of this month's rent. After that, she was on her own. Her voice changed, got harder. She asked if I was really doing this over one argument. I corrected her. It wasn't an argument. She humiliated me in front of her entire family because she wanted to prove a point. Mission accomplished. She asked, so that's it? I'm just going to run away? I said, I'm moving forward. There's a difference. She predicted I wouldn't last 2 months out there by myself. I said, guess we'll find out. I hung up before she could respond. The next 2 days were logistics. I went to our bank. withdrew half of our savings. It wasn't much, maybe $3,000, but it was mine. I transferred my direct deposit information to a new account at a different bank. I went to the house when I knew she'd be at work, packed more clothes, my laptop, some books, left my key on the kitchen counter. She texted at some point saying we needed to talk in person. She wasn't doing this over the phone. I ignored it. On day 3, she showed up at the motel. I was coming back from getting coffee when I saw her car in the parking lot. She was waiting by my room door, arms crossed. I asked how she found me. She said she checked every cheap motel within 10 miles. Wasn't that hard. I unlocked the door, but didn't invite her in. She asked what I wanted. I said to understand what's happening, I was throwing away 5 years over one bad night. I shook my head and said, one bad night? That was just when she finally said out loud what she'd been thinking for months, maybe years. She denied it. I reminded her she told me I was mediocre, that I was scared, that I needed her more than she needed me. She said she was angry. I replied, angry people tell the truth. I looked at her directly and said she meant every word. She tried a different approach, softer. She said she was sorry. She shouldn't have said those things. Come home. We could work on this. I told her there's nothing to work on. I'm leaving in 11 days. She asked if I was serious about this job. I said completely. She asked, what about us? I said there is no us, not anymore. Her eyes hardened again. She said I was making a huge mistake, that Tom wouldn't work out. I'd be miserable and alone, and she wouldn't be here when I realized I needed her. I told her I was counting on that. I went into the room and closed the door. She stood there for a minute. Then I heard her footsteps walking away. Her car started and left. That night I got an email from the company's HR department. Contract, benefits information, relocation assistance. It was real. This was happening. I signed everything and sent it back. 10 days to go. My phone kept buzzing with messages from her family. I answered none of them. Changed my number on day 7. Gave the new one only to my boss at my current job and the HR person at the new company. Complete silence after that. It felt good. On my last day at my old job, my supervisor seemed confused. I gave notice pretty suddenly. Was everything okay? I said better than okay. New opportunity came up. She said good for me. I'd always been solid here. They were lucky to have me. That simple sentence meant more than she knew. I loaded my truck on a Saturday morning. Everything I owned fit in the bed and the back seat. I didn't have much. I drove past our house one last time. Her car was in the driveway. I didn't stop. 300 miles to my new life. I made it in 5 hours. The new city was smaller than I expected, not tiny, but manageable. The kind of place where traffic actually moved and parking wasn't a nightmare. I found the company building on Sunday just to make sure I knew where I was going. Modern glass and steel, 5 stories with the company logo on the front. Apex Industries. They manufactured industrial equipment, something I actually knew about from my previous job. My first day started at 8 Monday morning. Garrison met me in the lobby himself. Good to finally have me here, he said, shaking my hand firmly. Let me show you around. The office was clean, organized, and busy. People actually seemed to enjoy being there. He introduced me to my team, 6 people, all friendly enough. One guy, Nolan, offered to help me get settled. During lunch, he asked if I'd found a place to live yet. I said still in a hotel, looking at apartments this week. He said apartments here were expensive, but he had a spare room if I was interested. $300 a month, plus split utilities. It's not fancy, he said, but it's cheap. I thought about it. Sharing a place wasn't ideal, but it made financial sense while I got established. I said that could work. He told me to come by after work and check it out. Nolan's place was a small house in an older neighborhood. 2 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, kitchen that had seen better days. But it was clean, quiet, and the room he was offering had space for a bed and a desk. He said he worked swing shifts sometimes, so he wasn't always around. Long as I wasn't throwing parties or leaving messes, we were good. I said deal. I moved in that weekend. Bought a used bed frame and mattress from a thrift store, set up my laptop on an old desk Nolan had in the garage. It wasn't much, but it was mine. No one telling me I was mediocre, no one keeping score of my failures. Work was good, better than good. The job was challenging, but not overwhelming. My supervisor, a woman named Miranda, was direct and fair. When I did something well, she said so. When I made a mistake, she explained how to fix it without making me feel stupid. She told me after my second week that I was picking this up faster than most people. Garrison was right about me. 3 weeks in, I got my first paycheck. I saw that number and had to double check it. After taxes and insurance, I was still taking home more than I'd made in a month at my old job. I paid Nolan rent, bought groceries, and still had money left over. Actual savings. It felt strange. My old phone was in a drawer somewhere. I'd left it off since getting the new number. Didn't need it, didn't want the temptation to check it. But curiosity got the better of me one night. I turned it on. 87 missed calls, over 200 text messages. The first batch were from her. Angry, then confused, then almost desperate. I couldn't just disappear. We needed to talk. This was childish. She was worried about me. My family was asking about me. Then her family joined in. Her mother saying whatever happened, we could work it out. Her father telling me to be a man and face this. Her sister Claudia insisting she was a mess. I needed to come back. I scrolled through them all. Not one person asked what she'd said to me. Not one person acknowledged that maybe, just maybe, I had a reason for leaving. The most recent message was from 5 days ago, from her. She said she talked to a lawyer. If I wanted a divorce, fine, but we needed to handle this properly. I turned the phone back off and put it away. At work, things kept improving. Miranda assigned me to lead a small project. Nothing major, but it was mine to manage. The team respected my decisions, asked good questions, delivered quality work. She said after we finished ahead of schedule that I had a good handle on people. That was rare. A month and a half in, I met some people outside of work. Nolan invited me to a bar where he played pool with friends. Nothing fancy, just a local place with cheap beer and worn felt tables. One of Nolan's friends, a woman named Esther, worked in accounting at a different company. She was funny, sarcastic, and didn't take anyone's nonsense. She said so I was the mysterious roommate. Nolan said I just moved here, out of nowhere. I said needed a change. She asked if I was leaving something behind or running towards something. I said both, I guess. She smiled and said fair enough. We talked for a while. Nothing serious, just conversation. It felt normal, natural. Nobody was keeping score or waiting for me to mess up. When I got home that night, Nolan was watching television. He said Esther liked me. I said we just met. He replied, trust me. He'd known her for years. She didn't talk to people that long unless she was interested. I didn't know what to do with that information, so I filed it away and went to bed. Work kept getting better. I was handling bigger projects, making decisions that mattered. Garrison called me into his office after 3 months. He said he wanted to check in, see how I was adjusting. I told him it had been great. Honestly, better than I expected. He said good, because they were expanding the team and he wanted me to interview candidates with him. Miranda recommended me specifically. That meant something, being trusted to help build the team. I said I'd be happy to. My phone buzzed in my pocket, the new one. A text from an unknown number. I got your new number from your old boss. We need to talk about the house and splitting assets. Call me. I knew who it was. I deleted the message. Garrison asked if everything was okay. I said, yeah, just some old business I needed to handle. He said take whatever time I needed. I didn't need time. I needed a lawyer. I found one through a coworker's recommendation. Small practice, straightforward guy named Mr. Thornton. I explained the situation in his office the next day. He said, pretty simple case, no kids, no major assets. We were renting, not buying. Vehicles in separate names. Then it was just splitting whatever savings we had and making sure debts were handled fairly. He could file paperwork this week if I wanted to move forward. I said, do it. He nodded and said he'd need her contact information. I gave him the old number, let him deal with her. That night, Nolan asked if I wanted to grab dinner with him and some friends. Esther was going to be there. I said, sure. We went to a diner, nothing fancy, just burgers and fries. Esther sat across from me and we ended up talking most of the night while Nolan and the others argued about sports. She said I seemed different from when we first met. I asked different how. She said more relaxed, less like I was waiting for something bad to happen. Maybe she was right. I hadn't realized it, but I'd stopped looking over my shoulder, stopped waiting for the other shoe to drop. I told her this place had been good for me. She said good, I should stick around. When I got home, I checked my email. One from Thornton. Divorce petition filed, she'd been served. Expect a response within 30 days. I closed the laptop and went to bed. For the first time in years, I slept through the entire night without waking up once. Thornton called me 2 weeks after filing the paperwork. He said she was contesting, claiming I abandoned the marriage and wanted compensation for emotional distress. I laughed. Couldn't help it. He said it was a standard tactic. She'd drop it once she realized it wouldn't work. Her lawyer was probably just trying to scare me into offering more. He asked what I actually owed her. I said half of whatever we had in savings when I left. He noted I already withdrew my half, so technically nothing. She might try to claim part of my new income, but that was a stretch since I earned it after separation. So this was just noise. He said pretty much he'd respond appropriately, not to worry about it. But she wasn't done. 3 days later, my old number started getting messages again. I'd left the phone on this time, curious what would happen. Her father saying I needed to handle this like a man. She was struggling financially because I left without warning. Her sister saying she had to get a roommate to afford rent. Was I really going to leave her with all the bills? Her brother saying, dude, whatever happened, I was better than this. Help her out. Not one of them mentioned what she'd said at that dinner. Not one acknowledged that maybe she'd pushed me to this point. Then, she started texting the new number somehow. Must have gotten it from someone at my old job. She said I couldn't just erase 5 years. We built a life together. She wasn't asking me to come back, just help her with the transition. It was the decent thing to do. I was being cruel. This wasn't who I was. I showed the messages to Nolan one night. He read through them and shook his head. Classic guilt trip, he said. She was panicking because her plan didn't work. I asked what plan. He said she thought I'd fall apart without her, come crawling back. Now she was realizing she needed me more than I needed her, and she was scrambling. That made sense. The timeline fit. Thornton called again. She was willing to settle, wanted me to pay 3 months of her rent to help her adjust. I said no. He said he figured I'd say that. He'd counter with a clean split, no money changes hands, everyone walks away. She wouldn't like it, but she'd take it eventually. Work was picking up. We landed a major contract, and my team was assigned to handle part of the implementation. Long hours, but satisfying work. Miranda was pleased with my performance. She said during a review that if I kept this up, there might be a promotion discussion in 6 months. I wasn't counting on it, but it felt good to hear. Esther and I had been spending more time together. Nothing official, just grabbing coffee or lunch when our schedules lined up. She knew I was going through a divorce, but didn't push for details. She said I'd talk about it when I was ready or I wouldn't. Either way was fine. One Saturday, she invited me to a local festival. Food trucks, live music, craft vendors. The kind of thing I would have avoided before because it wasn't our scene. I went, had a good time, bought some ridiculous hat from a vendor because Esther dared me to wear it, ate too much fried food, and didn't feel guilty about it. On the way back, she asked what my ex was like. I asked why she wanted to know. She said curious what kind of person I was running from. I said I wasn't running from her, I was running towards something better. She smiled and said smooth answer, but seriously, I thought about it. She needed me to be less than I am, I said. Smaller. She wanted someone she could control, and I spent 5 years letting her do it. Esther asked, and now? Now I'm done being small, she nodded. Good. That night I got a message from an unknown number on my work phone. Someone had gotten that one too. It was Claudia. She said she knew I probably wouldn't respond, but she needed to tell me something. She wasn't doing well, lost her job last week. Her boss said she'd been distracted and making mistakes. She was barely eating. Claudia was worried about her. I stared at the message for a long time. Part of me felt bad. 5 years together, you don't just stop caring overnight. But another part, the part that remembered sitting at that dinner table while she told everyone I was weak and pathetic, felt nothing. I deleted the message. Thornton called the next morning. Good news, he said. She accepted the terms. Clean split, no money exchanged, just needed my signature on the final documents. I asked why so fast. He said her lawyer probably told her she had no case. Smart move on her part to settle now. I met him at his office that afternoon, signed where he indicated. 7 pages of legal language that boiled down to, we're done, we owe each other nothing. Goodbye. I asked if that was it. He said that's it. Judge would finalize it in about 30 days, but I was essentially divorced. Congratulations. Weird thing to congratulate someone on, but I understood what he meant. I drove back to the house I shared with Nolan. He was in the living room with Esther and a few other friends, watching a game. He asked how it went. I said, sign the papers, it's done. Esther said that called for celebration. We were ordering pizza I was buying since I was newly single. I laughed. Deal. That night felt normal, easy. Just people enjoying each other's company without drama or scorekeeping or someone waiting for me to mess up. My phone buzzed, the old one still sitting on my dresser. I ignored it. Whatever she had to say now didn't matter anymore. That chapter was closed. I had a new job, new friends, and a new life that didn't require me to shrink myself to fit someone else's idea of who I should be. 3 months ago, she'd told me I'd come crawling back within weeks. She'd been wrong about everything. I was in a meeting when reception called my extension. "There's someone here to see me," the receptionist said. "Says she's my wife." My stomach dropped. I said, "Ex-wife, tell her I'm unavailable." She said the woman was pretty insistent, said it was important. I closed my eyes. I'd be right there. Miranda looked at me. "Everything all right?" "Personal issue," I said. "I'd handle it quickly." I walked to the lobby. She was standing by the front desk, looking out of place in jeans and a wrinkled jacket. She'd lost weight, dark circles under her eyes. I asked what she was doing here, keeping my voice low. She said I wouldn't answer her calls. She needed to see me. I said we had nothing to discuss. The divorce was finalized. She said she knew. She glanced around, noticed people watching. "Could we talk somewhere private?" I said no. Whatever she needed to say it here or leave. Her jaw tightened. She'd driven 6 hours to see me. The least I could do was give her 10 minutes. I said I didn't ask her to come here. I didn't ask her to do anything. She needed to leave. She said please. Her voice cracked. She made a mistake. She knew that now. She was wrong about everything she said at that dinner. She was angry and stupid, and she hurt me. She was sorry. A few coworkers had stopped what they were doing, pretending not to listen but clearly interested. I said, "Apology noted. Now leave." She begged me not to do this, not to throw away everything we had because of one bad night. I shook my head. One bad night? That night was just her finally saying what she'd been thinking all along. She meant every word. She denied it. She said she was trying to hurt me because she was frustrated with myself, with us, with everything. But she didn't mean it. I told her yes, she did. And she was right. I was comfortable. I was scared, but not anymore. She reached for my arm. I stepped back. She said, louder now, that she saw what I was doing here. New job, new life, pretending I was better off. But I wasn't. I was running away from problems instead of fixing them. I said I fixed the problem. I left her. Her face flushed. A few people weren't even pretending not to watch anymore. She asked if I was really going to humiliate her like this in front of all these people. I said I wasn't doing anything. She came to my workplace uninvited. She was making a scene. I was asking her to leave. She insisted she wasn't leaving until we talked. I walked back to the reception desk. "Can you call security, please?" The receptionist picked up the phone. My ex's eyes went wide. I was calling security on her? I said she was asked to leave. She refused. That was trespassing. She said this was insane. She was my wife. I corrected her. Ex-wife. And she needed to go. 2 security guards appeared from a side hallway. One of them, an older guy named Gerald, approached carefully. "Ma'am," he said, "I'm going to need you to come with me." She said this was ridiculous. I couldn't do this. He said yes, ma'am, he could. "Please don't make this difficult." She looked at me one last time. She said I'd changed. This wasn't who I was. I said she was right. I wasn't the person who let her walk all over him anymore. That guy was gone. Gerald escorted her toward the exit. She didn't resist, but I heard her say something about me making a huge mistake. When they were gone, I turned around. Half the lobby was staring. Miranda was standing by the hallway. She walked over. "Want to take the rest of the day?" she asked quietly. I said no, I was fine, just needed 5 minutes. She told me to take 10. Conference room 2 was empty. I sat in the conference room, and hands shaking slightly from adrenaline. Not from fear or anger, but from the realization that I'd just done something the old me never would have. The old me would have gone outside with her, would have listened to her apologies and explanations, would have felt guilty for making her drive all this way. The new me recognized manipulation when he saw it. 10 minutes later, I went back to my desk. Nolan, who who worked in a different department but had apparently heard what happened, sent me a message. "You good?" I replied, "Yeah, all handled." "Drinks after work?" He said definitely. The rest of the day was surprisingly normal. A few people asked if everything was okay. I told them it was and moved on. That evening, Nolan and I met at the bar with a few others, including Esther. After I'd told them what happened, Esther said so she drove 6 hours to beg me to come back, and I had security throw her out. I said I asked her to leave first. She refused. Esther raised her glass. "I'm buying your next round," she said. That took guts. I said it didn't feel like it, just felt necessary. Nolan leaned back in his chair. "She's going to tell everyone you're the bad guy now," he said. "You know that, right?" I said, "Let her. Anyone who knew the full story knew better." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "That was cruel," it said. "She's devastated." "I hope you're happy," must have been her sister or mother. I showed it to the group. Esther said block it. They were going to keep trying to guilt me. She was right. I blocked the number. Another text came through. Different number. I embarrassed her in front of my coworkers. She was humiliated. I blocked that one too. Then my work email pinged. Message from an address I didn't recognize. The subject line said, "I'd regret this." I opened it. Just one sentence. "When this job doesn't work out and I had nobody, don't come looking for her." I forwarded it to Thornton with a note. Was this something I should be concerned about? He replied within an hour. "Possibly maltreatment," he wrote. "Save all messages. If it continued, we could pursue a restraining order." I saved it and moved on. Esther walked me to my truck after we left the bar. "Serious question," she said. "Was I actually over her?" I said honestly, I thought I'd been over her for a while. Just didn't realize it until she gave me permission to leave. Esther said she didn't give me permission. She dared me. I asked what the difference was. She explained permission implied I needed her approval. A dare meant she didn't think I had it in me. Big difference. I said either way, I was done. She said good, because she liked this version of me a lot better than whatever I was before. That surprised me. She didn't know me before. She said she knew enough. The guy Nolan described when I first moved here. Quiet, uncertain, always apologizing for taking up space. That wasn't who she saw now. I said people changed. She disagreed. "No," she said. "People became who they were supposed to be once they stopped letting others hold them back." She squeezed my arm and walked to her own car. I drove home thinking about what she'd said. Maybe she was right. Maybe I hadn't changed. Maybe I just finally stopped pretending to be someone I wasn't. When I got home, I pulled out the old phone one last time. 23 new messages from various numbers. All the same theme. I was heartless, cruel, selfish. I powered it off and threw it in a drawer. Let them think whatever they wanted. I knew the truth. 6 months after I left, Thornton sent me the final divorce decree. Official stamp, judge's signature, the whole thing. We were legally done. I filed it away and went to work. Miranda called me into her office that afternoon. We needed to talk about my performance. My stomach tightened. Was there a problem? She said the opposite. I'd exceeded expectations on every project. My team respected me. Clients specifically asked for me. She and Garrison had been discussing my future here. She slid a paper across the desk. This was a promotion offer. Senior team lead. 18% salary increase. Better benefits. And I'd be managing 2 teams instead of 1. When would this start? 1st of next month, she said, if I accepted. I signed it right there. Life settled into a comfortable rhythm. Work was challenging but rewarding. I moved out of Nolan's place into a small house I was renting. Nothing fancy, but it had a yard and a garage. Space to breathe. Esther and I had been dating for 2 months. Nothing rushed, just letting it develop naturally. She met my coworkers, I met her friends. It felt easy in a way my marriage never had. One night over dinner, she asked if I ever thought about her. I said sometimes, not often. What did I think about? How different my life would be if I'd stayed, and how grateful I was that I didn't. She reached across the table and took my hand. "I'm glad you didn't either," she said. My old phone was still in a drawer somewhere, untouched for months. One night, curious, I pulled it out and turned it on. 100+ messages I'd never read. I scrolled through them without opening any. Her family had stopped messaging after a while. The last few were all from her. The most recent was from 3 weeks ago. She said she knew I'd moved on. She saw it on social media through mutual friends. She was happy for me, really. She just wanted to say she was sorry for how things ended. I deserved better than what she gave me. She hoped I was doing well. No demand for a response, no guilt trip. Just an acknowledgement. I almost replied. Almost. But what would I say? That I forgave her? That I didn't? That it didn't matter anymore because I'd built something better without her? Instead, I turned the phone off and put it back in the drawer. Some conversations didn't need to happen. A year after leaving, I was sitting on my back porch with a beer, watching the sunset. Nolan and Esther were coming over for dinner later. I just finished a major project at work that had taken 3 months. My phone rang. The new one. Unknown number, I answered. Hello? A man's voice? Older, vaguely familiar? Asked if this was me. I asked who was asking. He said it was my ex-father-in-law. He got my number from my old boss. He hoped I didn't mind. I almost hung up. What did he want? Just to talk, he said. 5 minutes. I told him to go ahead. He was quiet for a moment. He owed me an apology. What she said at his birthday dinner, what they all let happen, that wasn't right. He'd thought about it a lot this past year. I said okay. He said she was doing better now. Got a new job, seemed more stable. But she told him I was doing well too. That I got promoted, moved into my own place. I confirmed I was doing well. He said good. That was good. He paused. He wanted me to know that what she said that night, about me coming back begging, about me needing her more than she needed me, he never believed that. And he should have said so then. I said it would have been nice to hear. He said he knew. He was sorry. I told him apology accepted. Was that all? That was all, he said. Take care of myself. He hung up. I sat there for a minute, processing. Part of me appreciated the call. Most of me didn't care. That chapter was closed. The story was over. Esther and Nolan arrived an hour later. We grilled burgers, drank too much, and argued about which movie to watch. Normal stuff, good stuff. Later, after they'd left, I threw away the old phone. Didn't need it anymore. Didn't need the reminders. I'd proven everything I needed to prove. And not to her. To myself. She'd said I'd come crawling back within weeks, that I couldn't make it alone, that I needed her. A year later, I was thriving in a job I loved, in a relationship that felt genuine, surrounded by people who valued me as I was. She'd been wrong about everything, and I'd never been more right.